How are you doing?
Hi, Lucas. I'm doing very good. How about you?
Oh, I'm good. Can you please give a brief introduction of yourself to our audience?
Oh, yeah. All right. My name is Aaron Mana Freeman. I'm a Ghanaian and I currently live in Australia. I've been in Australia for almost 2 years. I'm a student and I work part time. I lived most of my life in Ghana and schooled in Ghana and worked in Ghana. Yeah.
Okay. As for me, myself and you know ourselves right here. But, a lot of people when they're traveling, they go to like maybe the UK, let me just say no, and US.
Yep.
And then when you decided to go to Australia, is there a specific reason why Australia?
Yeah. I think most people who know me, most people who are watching this know that I really don't like towing the lines that most people have already towed. I like to go the other way. So I realize most Africans, it's not just limited to Ghanaians when they are traveling abroad. They like to be in the Europe and the Americas and all of that. But I thought, what if I do it differently? Could there not be a country that is at par or actually better than some of these countries in Europe and Americas? So I started researching and then I found Australia and I realized it was a very good country, but their, publicity was very low, so much that people don't know much about Australia. So yeah, Australia is very large. They have tropical weather just like Ghana. So I needed a place that the weather is almost like Ghana. Yeah, so that I can function properly. I checked their minimum wage. I checked the people, multiculturalism, and then I realized that now Australia was really up there. So it was a very easy decision for me, actually.
So basically, it's because you like being an outlier. That's why you decided to choose Australia. I think most people that choose the US and Europe is it's also because of like financial financial issues. That's why you choose that countries. Didn't you also like face such issues? And
Yeah.
is it just about like trying to be an outlier and also the weather?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, the point we're trying to be an outlier doesn't mean you do the wrong things because you just want to be an outlier. There are calculated risks in everything that you do. So you first need to research. The fact that everybody is going to America or the UK or Europe, does that mean I also have to go to the same place? Could there not be opportunities for me in other places where they are not they are minimal black people and all of that? So I realized that Australia, most people are really not paying attention to Australia as much as they are paying attention to Europe. When I came here, that is when I realized that it was a very good decision. There are most companies here who are looking out for multiculturalism. That way they employ black people, and then realizing that Australia doesn't have a lot of black people like in London, in UK and all of that. That gives you an opportunity, that gives you an edge. I don't know if I'm really making sense. So yes, I like to be an outlier, but I like to take the calculated risks and do my research to see if the risk that I'm taking is really worth it. And so far so good. It's been 2 years and I don't regret coming to Australia.
Okay. You better get cancels.
No, no.
One thing I also want to ask you is that how is it like? How did you get there? I think most of our audience would like to know what was the procedure, and especially with your when you started your introduction, you made it so that you are a student, you're also working, right?
Yep, yeah. Yeah.
So like, how did you get there? What was the procedure like as an African, living Africa and going to Australia?
Yes.
What type of procedures did you have to make put in place? Is it like a scholarship? Is it money? When you got there, did you immediately get the job? Like, how is it?
Yeah.
How is it? How did you get to that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, very good question that is going to help your viewers. Yeah, so Australia is very straight when it comes to immigration. So you realize that Australia is a very big country, if I'm not mistaken, about 50 times the size of Ghana. But there are only 25 million people living in Australia because they try to regulate their immigration so much that the net gain is always positive. So before you come to Australia, or most people that I know in Australia, especially the African community, they come with student visas. But the Sudanese and the Congo and the Burundis who came with refugee visas because there were, wars in their countries and all of that. The rest of us came with student visas, and a few, probably a minimal number, came with skilled work. So supposedly you are an engineer, you've worked in Ghana for more than 5 years. You are less than 30 years, you know how to speak English, you've taken the English exams, you combine all those points. So your experience will give you 10 points, your age will give you 10 points, your whatever that comes into play gives you all those points. And when you score 65 and above, you are able to apply to get nominated by the government to come in as a skilled.
Sorry, let me cut you short. You said what make up the points? Your education, your experience,
your experience, your age, and your ability to speak English. Yeah, so if I've worked in, the mining company as an engineer for 10 years and somebody has worked for 5 years, the possibility that I'll get more points or I'll be considered over that person is very high. And also, if I'm less than 30 years, I'm still in, that work range. I'm not close to retirement. So if somebody is 40 years, they would like to choose me over, that person that is 40 years. So that is the skilled work visa. And the other one is the student visa, where you come in as a student for your master's, your undergrad, or your PhD. Mostly, it is very, very expensive to come to Australia from Africa. In my experience, the fees are heavy and they hardly give you full scholarship. The maximum that you get for a scholarship as a very brilliant, excellent student is mostly 30%. But it's worth it because there are jobs here, there are opportunities here, minimum wage is great and all of that. So yeah, those are the two main ways: skilled visa, but student visa mostly dominates and is very expensive.
So you got into like the school visa or in student?
Yeah, so actually I had worked in Ghana for 4 years and it wasn't up to 5 years, or the required amount of time that could give me more points for me to come with a skilled visa. So I had to come through the school route so that I could finish the school, work a little bit here, and then add my experience in Australia to the experience in Ghana so that I could get more than 5 years and use that route to apply for my PR or my permanent residency.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yep.
So you've been in Australia for like 2 years now, right?
Yeah, barely. I'll be exactly 2 years in 3 months. Yeah.
Okay. So I think you stayed there long enough to know what was your first impressions? What culture shocks did you experience like Ghana and Australia?
Yeah, this question, I would like not to get into trouble, but I still have to talk about it. Yeah, so I got to Australia on 26 June. Was it 2023? And the first thing that I realized was I was black. Actually, when I was in Ghana, I knew I was an African.
You didn't know you were black.
No. I always knew I was an African, but I didn't know I was black. I know you get to watch white people in movies, Hollywood. You see them in Ghana and all of that. But when you come to a country where, your color or your complexion is not the dominant one, that's when you realize that, oh, yeah, I am a different person. Yeah, so the first day I got here, my first cultural shock was, oh, everybody around me is not me. Well, they are human beings just like me, but they don't look like me. So that was my first shock. And then I think the second shock would have to be with the accent. Australia was colonized by the British, so they speak British English, but it's way different from what we hear in England and all of that. So you hear someone say, "my," and what do you mean by "my"? Not knowing they are talking about mate, M-A-T-E, my friend. Yeah, so normally when I came here, people say "my," and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then there was also a time that I was on campus and somebody asked me, how are you going, my? And I said, I'm going to class. So his face changed a little bit, but I didn't know what was going wrong. It was until later that I realized that when somebody asks you, how are you going? It means, how are you doing? You know, you can imagine the experience, how stupid and foolish I felt to say I'm going to class. Yeah, so those are some of the cultural shock, the accents, the fact that you realize that, oh, now I'm not in my community. So in the early days, I started feeling like fish out of water. You are out of your environment where you are comfortable. But as time goes on, you tend to adjust and you tend to, learn how to assimilate and integrate yourself with the system. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I I didn't want to talk about this, but since you mentioned it, and I think a lot of people want to come to Australia, so it's also educate people.
Yep.
But let's dive a little bit into like the resident. You said when you go to Australia, that's when you were black.
Yep.
Yeah. Has that also been like a factor that has influenced you in your case to get a job and you see our school, like school activities and stuff like that? Yes, how is the racism there? Like that's what I'm trying to.
Yep. Oh,
Get
yeah.
into.
That's a very good question here. We need to tackle it. Well, I wouldn't say racism in Australia is a very big thing. What I would say is, if you find yourself in any place that the people don't look like you, it's a human tendency for them to, sort of, not really come close to you. Or I don't know if you really get me. It's a natural tendency. You like to mingle with people who look like you or people who talk like you and all of that. Yeah. So I wouldn't say it's really a big factor when you are looking for a job, but I would say it could be an influencing factor, especially when it comes to your accent. I have the most English name. My name is Aaron Freeman on my CV. Most Ghanaians will say Aaron Freeman. So mostly when I apply for jobs, they think I'm Aussie, and the company that I was working for in Ghana is an Australian company. So when anybody sees my CV, Aaron Freeman, worked in Perseus Mining, they assume I'm white until I turn up for the interview and you notice, their faces, their faces go, they go though a little bit, and you realize, Aaron Freeman is not white. Yeah, so those are some of the stuff.
Maybe we should all change our names to like in English names.
Yeah,
we should actually get in English names or something.
Yeah, that was it. And I think my first job, I went for induction. Induction is where they teach you safety stuff and what you have to do and what you don't have to do. And we were about 4 guys, 3 white guys, and I was the only black guy amongst it. And the supervisor, I noticed that throughout the day that we started working, he learned the names of all the other 3 people. But for me, anytime he was looking for me, he says, "Where is the black guy?"
Wow.
Yeah. So one of the white boys who I was working with told me that he was going to report to the manager, the big manager, that the supervisor is calling me the black guy instead of learning my name. And I told him that, nah, it's all right. Just let it rest. It is not your fight. Yeah. So because when you are not strong-minded or your mentality is not really up there, these things can affect you. We are 4 people. We come the same day, and you know the names of all the other 3 people. But me, you refer to me as the black guy. And when he's looking for me and I'm not around, he doesn't even say black guy. He say, "Where is his black ass? I'm looking for him." Yeah. So those are some of the stuff. Yeah, it can get terrible and all of that. You need to be very strong mentality, overcome some of these challenges and try in a foreign country.
I remember when you go there, I think it was like barely 6 months myself when you were texting, and there was this time when you mentioned that it's when you go there, some people are not even Christians, and like they don't even the other denominations apart from. You remember us having a conversation?
Yeah,
like
we had that conversation. Yeah. So
like, how is it like with religion over there?
Oh, yeah. I like not to offend people when it comes to religious and political opinions, but let's just, dissect into this. When you travel into most Western countries or most Asian countries, that is when you realize that the world does not revolve around you. When you're in Ghana and you're in your own enclave with Christians around you, with Muslims around you, you think the whole world revolves around you. But when you travel out of your abode, that's when you realize that, people don't actually know Jesus. When people mention Jesus in their houses, their parents are actually going to beat them, just like the way we mention Antoine Nama or whatever in our house, we are going to end up in trouble. That is the way it is. So when I came to Australia, on Sundays, I like to go out and write my script or do my assignment at the beach side. I realized that on Sundays is where people go to ease their minds, especially the white people. They are at beach, snorkeling, diving, doing interesting stuff to, refresh their mind so they begin the week again. And then when I started talking to my East Asian friends, people from Nepal, India, I realized that they didn't even know much about Jesus, Mary, Joseph, or whoever they are. They don't know and they don't really care. It doesn't really affect them. So I was like, this is how big and vast and different the world is. When you're in Ghana, you think everything revolves around you and the whole world knows Jesus, the world believes in your faith.
Yeah, that's true.
Nah, they don't really know.
Because
there are few Christians
I remember there was this particular time where People usually go like, wow, they're evangelists. So it's like, you go, everybody knows about Jesus. So there's no need
Nah,
to
nah.
evangelize them because I usually thought everybody knew Christ. And the
Yeah.
time was done and it's just everything.
No.
Accept what I need to accept. But from what they're saying, it's like, so everyone actually read yes about religions and
No,
stuff.
no, 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 no.
That's
Yeah, so
actually interesting.
my let me just chip this in. My first terrible experience, I was walking with my partner in the city, and then there was a black person preaching about, Jesus and Christianity, and an old woman, if I wouldn't guess wrong, around 60, late 60s, took the mic forcefully from the guy and started, I don't care about no Jesus, my parents gave birth to me, no Jesus gave birth to me, and I don't care about him. And I'm like, really? Jesus, you dare talk about Jesus that way? But yeah, that's the way it is. Nobody really cares about your religious beliefs or anything like that. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Mm. What about dating? Okay, you are trying marriage, so I don't know. But then, like, as an African, if you go to like
I have boys.
how is the dating pool like?
I have boys. Yeah, it's yeah, I'm not in that circle, but I have a couple of friends, so I tend to know what is going on in the dating market and the dating environment. It's a bit difficult because you are in a country that your race is not the dominant one. It's a white dominated area, and the tendency of you landing a white girl or a white boy is very low. The probability is very low because you don't even mingle in places that white people are. I just told you before that on Sundays white people are at the beach swimming. On Sundays you are in the church. So how do you even find a white girl or a white boy or all of that? And when it comes to the black people too, they are Ghanaians here, they are Sudanese here, but it's very difficult for you to go outside of your culture, to go for a South Sudanese girl or a South Sudanese boy, coming for a Kenyan and all of that. And when you meet, if you are going to meet 5 black women in a week, what are the possibilities that out of the 5 people that you meet, you are going to like one? And the one that you like, what is the possibility that is the right person for you? So you see how narrow the whole thing is. If it is just like how do you call it, lottery, the higher the numbers, or the how do you call it, your chances picking a good number out of a lot of numbers. If the numbers are a lot, your chances of picking one number is very high, but if they are very few, your chances of picking is very minimal. So yeah, there are really not a lot of black people here. Yes, there are black people here, but your chances of meeting the one that you like, the one that fits your purpose, the one that aligns with your goal is very, very hard. And also in most Western countries, it's not like in Africa where you can just meet a woman, meet a boy, and then issue a compliment. Oh, you look very good today. When you do that here, there is a possibility that you might end up in trouble. It will be termed as harassment, especially at offices and workplaces and all of that. So if there is a chance that I'll get into trouble, then I'll rather avoid it. Do you get me? And if you don't compliment a woman, if you don't compliment a girl or a boy, how do you take it on from there to become partners or dating couple and all of that? So it's a bit difficult to find a partner.
Everyone, I want to ask you about this. Since you are talking about crime and others,
Yeah.
have you ever gotten into trouble with like your authorities or something like that? Have you ever been in trouble? Like arrested, or have you somebody ever reported into authorities, something like that?
Not really, but yeah, you could have an issue. I think it's not really me, but a friend of mine from Ghana. He's black and he had a white girl, friend from campus. They were actually not dating. They are just friends, like in Ghana where you do assignment and stuff with your friend. And they went on campus, but it was winter. And mostly in Australia, winter is very cold in the morning, but in the afternoon, it gets really hot. It's very, very bad. So he told the boy to pick his pullover jacket. And the guy was like, oh, in 2 hours time, it's going to be very, very hot. So I don't want to pick it. And the girl is like, pick it. Why are you so stubborn? Just like friends would do anyway. So finally the guy gave up and like, okay, yeah, fuck it. I just picked the jacket. So he went in the car, picked the jacket. They went to the library and they were studying. 2 hours into the studying, an unknown number calls him. He picks the call and the guy is like, are you this? Mentions the name. And then he says, yeah. I'm calling from Morningside police station. And the guy was like, fuck off. You're just, a fraudster and all of that, thinking that the person who called is a fraudster. And the person on the phone mentions the surname. That's when the guy gets really scared that, okay, maybe this guy is actually genuine. Yeah, I'm a police officer. Did you abuse a girl on campus today? And the guy is like, girl? No, I didn't abuse anybody. It's like, no, we got a report that you were being aggressive towards a white girl on this campus around this time. That is when, the realization came to the boy that, oh, this is the situation. When we were having that petty argument about the jacket, somebody reported me to the police station, probably because I'm black. It could be any other reason, but probably because I'm black and I'm with a white girl and they're assuming that I was actually being the aggressive one. Yeah, so those are some of the, issues that could happen. Those are some of the troubles that you could find yourself in. But me in person, I think I've not really had any problems with authority other than speed fines from car. I like to speed a little bit, but I'm working on it. So mostly I get speed fines around $500, $300 and all of that. But yeah, other than that, I'm working on it. Yeah.
You're talking about Sweden, or it means you own a vehicle. In Ghana here, if you own a bicycle, it means you've made it in life. Here, I'm talking about speeding and speeding and stuff like that. Yeah, Charlie, you make up for the Australia.
Nah.
You're passionate.
No. Well, Australia is very good. I wouldn't lie to you when it comes to finances and all of that, especially if you come with a partner and one is a student and the other person is working full time. You are really going to make it in a very short time. But with most Western countries, just like Australia, UK, and the US, a car is not really a luxury. It's a necessity. So sometimes I drive 60 kilometers to work and 60 kilometers back home. I don't know how you can imagine 60 kilometers. It's very, very far. That's because Australia is very vast, very big, and your workplace could be very far away from your house. So you need a car. If you depend on public transport a lot, you're going to spend 2 hours in a train or 3 hours in a train. By the time you get to the workplace, you're already tired and you have to do 3 hours back to your house. It's a waste of time. So I'd rather drive 45 minutes on the highway to work and then 45 minutes back. So a car here, most people buy cars in their first month when they come to Australia. Yeah, it's not really that expensive or a luxury. But I get it. If I post a picture of myself with my car on WhatsApp right now, most of my friends in Ghana are going to tell me, hey, Charlie, why are you? You've made it. Send us something and all of that. But that's not the case here. Yeah.
Running out of time. This conversation is really interesting. Let's have one of those. But we're running out of time. But before we go, I want to actually about food, like food. In Ghana here, we don't drink with our fufu, our tea. How do you cook? Like, what's the food there? You get to eat our foods over there.
Yep, a lot of times. Mostly the foods that I make in my kitchen are, Ghanaian or African foods. And yeah, so there are few African markets here. The problem is you might not get quality food because Australia is very far away from Africa and Ghana per se. So, cost of importation of those local foods into the Australian market is very expensive and you might end up not making any profit. But the good thing and the fortunate thing is Australia is bordered by most, you call them Pacific Islanders. They are countries like, I don't know if you've heard, Fiji, Papua New Guinea. Those countries are islanders, and I don't really know. I probably have to research. But some of their cultures and the kind of foods that they eat are almost like the African food. They eat spicy foods, that's peppery foods. They eat a lot of cocoyam. We call it taro here. In Ghana, some people call it brobe. I don't know. Most of the cheese speakers will know it. It's like cocoyam and it's very big. They eat all those stuff. They have plantains. Some have cassava and all of that. So they import it from those close countries. And most of the Africans here depend on those foods. Other than that, yeah, there are a few African, shops and restaurants where you can go get African foods. So you might not get quality or much, but yeah, the African food here.
Yeah. So like having this like in 80 seconds summarizing of the challenges you face over there if you're a new person in African and you come to Australia. What are some of the challenges you face and like how would you cope? And do you actually advise somebody, like would you encourage somebody to come to Australia?
Yep. Yeah, so thank you. Just like any other place, if you move from Kaswa to Dodowa, you are going to face challenges because it's a new environment that presents new challenges. So Australia, just like any other place when you are moving, presented some challenges. The first one I would talk about was, a multiculturalism. Now I'm in a country that my culture is not the dominant one. My faith, my belief is not the dominant one. That was a challenge. But it comes with you being open-minded and realizing that the world is very big and it doesn't revolve around you and your beliefs. And also, the other one would have to do with driving in Australia. Australia drives on the right hand. Well, I can't really know, but it's opposite from how we drive in Ghana. So when I came here and I started driving, I could be driving on a lane and I could be driving to face another car because my brain is still telling me that I'm driving in Ghana. I don't know if you get the picture. Yeah, so in Ghana, so that was a very big challenge. So what I did was I wake up in the night when the roads are very empty and I use that to practice till my brain said, yeah, fuck yeah, now you are in Australia, drive like an Australian. Yeah, and
when you come to Ghana, don't come across accidents, okay?
Yeah, when I come to Ghana, you drive me around. Thank you. Yeah, so, and the other one would have to do with the accent. The language. You speak proper English, but the accent and all of that. And I think it comes with time. It comes with bonding and integration and assimilation. Make friends from other communities. That is the challenge with most Africans who come here. They want to be in their African community and feel comfortable. No. Make friends from India, make friends from Australia, make friends from UK. That way you tend to understand, you get the accent really, really fast. And the other thing is you have to self-develop, learn financial education, listen to the news. What is happening on the news? Is inflation going high? People have lived here for 40 years and they don't even know what is actually happening in the country. So those are some of the challenges, but with time and with persistence and your will to motivate yourself, get out there, make friends, network and all of that, I think everybody will thrive. And the last one, yes, I need a lot of Ghanaians in Australia. I need a lot of you here. We have to thrive. Most people are looking at UK and US and all of that. I get it. They are good countries, but take time, research on Australia and see how good the country is. Most people call it the down under, and they talk about snakes, animals and all of that. I've been here for 2 years and I've not seen a snake or a kangaroo before, but the moment you talk about Australia, go like, oh yeah, there are so many animals there and you should be scared. Nah, I've not even seen a snake since I came here. I saw more snakes in Ghana than in Australia. Yeah, so that is it. Come to Australia, people.
So like after saying all this, would you be staying in Australia for like a very short time and come back to Ghana, or like Ghana staying there for a very long time?
I don't want my wife to hear this part of this conversation because she seems to like Australia, and I'm very Pan-African. I like everything about Africa and all of that. Yeah, so well, plans do change, but I don't really see myself staying past 10 years. I don't know what is going to happen, but a part of me wants to be in Ghana, a part of me wants to be in Africa and then help build. I know people who are going to watch this episode or this video, they are going to say, oh, what now back Ghana back. No, everybody is different. Yeah, I want to come back to Ghana someday when I've developed myself, when I'm matured enough, when I've learned a lot from the Western world that I can, import back home. Probably start some businesses and, help employ people too. Yeah, so I don't see myself staying for that long.
Don't worry, the last part of the conversation, that's it. Your wife will see it, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy about that.
Okay. Like, I actually want to talk about things of other things with you, but then like time is fast time. So I think we'll probably do a part 2 based on the reception.
Yeah, sure.
Because there are a lot of things I want to talk about, but then time wouldn't allow us.
Yeah.
And I'm really running then. Like, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, you spending time. What's the time over there right now?
It should be 8 something. I'm not really with my phone. Oh yeah, it's 8:22. We are 10 hours ahead of Ghana. That's also a challenge. Speaking to your family is very difficult. Yeah, 8:22.
So I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
There will be a part 2. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Sure.
Because like I think we the part about like this coming to Australia, but like the scholarship and stuff like that. I need you to tell more what to start.
Yeah, that's something that we should do. Most people are not really aware of those opportunities and all of that. Yeah, so I'll be looking forward to that part. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me, Lucas. Bye.